Welcome everybody back to a special episode of Throw It Down Big Fella. On today's episode, I talk with Caleb Hilliard, my good friend. We talk about all things local, Memphis Tigers, 901 FC, and of course the Memphis Grizzlies. So please enjoy this interview, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Throw it down, big man.
Welcome everybody back to Throw It Down Big Fella podcast. I have a very, very special guest with me today. I call him like my brother. Me and him have grown up together. We've had a podcast together. Of course, you can see him on ABC 24 on the weekends. He is a sports anchor there. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Caleb Hilliard. How are you, Caleb?
Greg, I am great. And let me just say, it is a pleasure to be on this podcast. When you said that you were doing it, y'all are doing things that, we had a podcast together, but what y'all are doing is, you kind of getting in that niche gap, getting some views, getting some followers. So starting from the ground up, but I like it. I listen to y'all's podcast. I really like it.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. So let's get started with the Memphis Tigers. We watched them all season long. They were top 10. They were ranked 10 high, the number 10 at one point. Then they come to January. They had big wins against Clemson, Arkansas, Virginia, big time wins. Then come to January, come to tournament play. Four games. They've lost 4 in a row. Lost to Rice, of all teams, Rice. And now they beat FAU. They beat UAB. They lost to FAU this past weekend. Now we come to conference tournament play. They are the 5 seed. They have to basically win their next 4 games. Win and go home.
4 days. It's never happened before.
Never happened before. So is it possible they can do it, Caleb?
Oh, yeah. And it's 100% possible. I think right now they're plus 400 favorites. So they're fourth on as far as favorites go out of the teams. And honestly, that's just because they're the 5th seed and they have to win 4 in 4 days. If they had gotten in that top 4, which, that loss to Rice really hurt them. If you don't lose to Rice, you most likely make it. If you don't if you don't crumble against UAB, who they match up really well against, in my opinion, you get that 4 seed easily. But I think that outside of FAU, they have the best chance to win the tournament. And who's to say FAU is not going to slip up? FAU has flaws.
They do.
FAU have a tougher path. FAU will have to get they have SMU and Charlotte in their side of the bracket. The toughest test is going to be South Florida.
Yeah.
And if South Florida is your toughest opponent in your side of the bracket, you're smiling. Like, I get it. South Florida's the 1 seed. South Florida's overrated, Greg. 100% overrated. They've been hyped up all year. Now, their head coach, great head coach. I believe North Texas's coach won Coach of the Year in the AAC. But I think that South Florida's coach deserved that. And I don't have his name in front of me, and I don't want to mispronounce it. But
I like FAU. I like FAU coach though. May I like FAU coach. So.
Yeah, a lot of good coaches in the AAC. Did you see Kennedy getting kicked out of the UAB Memphis game?
I saw that. That was he was wild. He was wild. But you think it's possible they can win they can win. It's possible.
In my opinion, I think that they will win it. Now, I kind of have to take myself away from the team a little bit because I've been covering them all year. Of course, I went to Memphis. I love the Tigers. Tigers basketball was the thing growing up. Way more so than Tigers football. But even if I do take myself emotionally out of it, I think that this is the most talented team in the conference. I think 100% they could run the table and make it. Now, if they do win the conference tournament, playing 4 games in 4 days and then having to turn around a few days later and play in the first round as I'd say they'd probably be a 9 seed, 8 or a 9 seed if they win. That's tough. And that's going to hurt them. Yeah. Because they're going to be gassed on the road and gassed.
Remember UConn did it with Kemba but it was 5 games. It was actually 5 games they did it. Five
Okay.
games, 5 games in 5 days. So Memphis, they get 4-4. To me, it depends on Quirley, the point guard for Memphis. He's the guy. Like it seems like every time he has a good game, the Tigers win. But like if he has a letdown game, like he did at FAU, like there was so much at stake for that game, Caleb. We could have had a double bye in this conference tournament. They could have avoided playing. It'd be 3 games in 3 days instead of 4. Um, I don't know. I just feel like he's the key. He's the key for the Tigers to win.
Yeah, I'd say a month ago, 2 months ago, he was the number 2 guy. But now that Naquan Tomlin has become, right below David Jones, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say Quinley is more of the X factor. They
Mm-hmm.
need a better first half from him over the next 4 games. Because against against FAU, he did well in the second half. I mean, the only reason why, that game was closer than 8 points, but still, because they got it to 8 points, it was because Quinterly was hitting those threes in the second half. He had 0 points at halftime. It was
Yep.
0 of 9, I think. Maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad, like 0 of 7, but he he's a confidence guy. At Alabama, he was a 6 man. He was really good at Alabama being a 6 man. So this is something, even though he's been playing in the NCAA for 5 years, this is something that's new to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, Penny said all year, these guys are still learning. These guys are still getting comfortable. Now you got to put all of that aside. Apparently, they've got the chemistry issues sorted out. And we never found out who the chemistry issues were with. You could speculate on that.
Mm-hmm.
Say players were upset with how many shots David Jones was taking, but I don't know. I talked to Chris Crawford. Remember OG Chris Crawford?
Former great Tiger great. Yeah, Chris Crawford.
And then I talked to Antonio Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
played with Derrick Rose, and I asked him, I said, during y'all's 08 run, were y'all upset? Because Derrick came in as a freshman, Antonio was a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And so were y'all upset when Derrick was taking all the shots away from y'all? He said, no. We're like, let him shoot. Let him keep shooting. That's how this team needs to be. And I think that they are trending towards that. Just let David Jones run the offense. Let him initiate the offense.
Yeah.
And then let Naquan Tomlin clean up underneath. And when you do that, you create your entire offense around David Jones and Naquan Tomlin. It frees up space for Quinterly. So Quinterly really needs to, I would say Quinterly needs to be like a 15-7 guy. He needs to have 15.7 assists, average that over the next 4-game stretch. Or because they don't have anybody else who can run the point that can score right now.
That's true. That's true. So, like you said, Memphis, they play the winner of the Rice Wichita State game, and then after that they play the winner. No, they play UAB, and then we'll probably play, I think, South Florida that Saturday. If I had to take a guess, but it just depends on. I would say South Florida, and I think that would be a really tough game, really, really tough game. But I think it's possible too. They can win 4, but I think it's possibly 2 semifinals, season over. NIT are they NIT bound if they don't get to the NCAA tournament?
That's what the experts are saying. Do you think they would accept a bid if they were given an NIT bid? Do you think they would accept it?
I think so, and I also you know what? No, I take that back. No, I think it's because of how they ended their season. If it was maybe the loss against Rice, maybe if they didn't lose to Rice, maybe it was just 2 or 3 straight losses, maybe. But it's like that Rice game, like it's so much friction going on, and you saw it, you reported on it too, Caleb, about there's a divide in the locker room, and I don't know. I just feel like is Penny Hardaway on the hot seat next year if they don't make the tournament this year?
That's a good question. A lot of people think he's on the hot seat right now. Those people are not experts. Now, by no means am I an expert. I'm not calling myself an expert, but all of the negative talk about Penny have been those Memphis troll fan accounts. Now, I like a lot of them. I follow a lot of them, but Those are the people that are really calling him out. Um, if you look at the higher ups at Memphis, they love Penny. AD loves Penny, and I think he pretty much has immunity. Um, will it do? If they start out the season next year and they're going to have another tough non-conference schedule,
Mhm.
um, if they don't have the same success that they had this year, it may be time to step away from Penny. Because I mean, you got to look at the games that they won early on this season. Now, Arkansas and Missouri did not have good seasons at all. Michigan, who they beat, also didn't have a good season. But
Clemson either, Virginia either. Well, Clemson had it, but they started off, they faded away. Virginia too.
I mean, they took care of those teams. Clemson was close. I would say that's one of the best games Clemson played all season versus Memphis.
Mhm.
Uh, Texas A&M was a great win. You know, Texas A&M's had some bad losses this year in SEC play, getting blown out by Tennessee.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, they also had a great loss. I mean, great win this weekend, blowing out Ole Miss. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, with that resume, Penny believes that even though those teams didn't have great seasons, he believes that resume should get them into the NCAA big tournament, even if they do lose uh, in the conference tournament. Which you know, I don't think anybody would agree with that, but.
Man.
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, if he doesn't make it, I'd say let's give him another year.
Yeah.
Let's get Jared Harris in here. I'm excited about him, 4-star guard out
Mhm.
of Texas. Um, if viewers, if y'all haven't seen him, go check out his mixtape. Dude's a beast. Um, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's on the hot seat?
Uh, I just think, yeah, with the speculation of a divided locker room and Tiger fans are young and restless. You know how certain Tiger fans are. Shout out to the radio host, the one that always gets under Penny Hardaway's skin, Giovanni. Is it Giovanni? Am I saying it right? What's the guy?
Giannato? Oh,
Gianna.
Gino.
Him. He's the. I feel like he's like the organizer for like, please get rid of Penny Hardaway because he's always on him. He's
Well,
always on his. Like,
he's been saying that for 3 years. You know, that's his job though. Like it's as the I believe he's the sports editor at the CA. I mean, if you look at the articles that he writes, which he's a great writer, does great articles. That's his job is to kind of write the controversial pieces, take some of that pressure off of the beat writer. Um, but I mean, if you do you think I think Penny has developed into a really good on court coach. You know, he had no issues being a player coach when he first started, but he was
all right.
raw. I think now you take out some of the rotation stuff, playing 10 or 11 guys in some games.
Mhm.
I the stuff that he does on the court, some of the schemes that they've drawn up, um, that's not all him. That's Stansbury and Raji Phillips as well,
Yeah.
who are great assistant coaches, and that's something he's done. Surrounded himself with really good offensive coaches, good defensive coaches as well. Um, I don't know, Greg. I'm not going to say that he's going to be on the hot seat. I'd like to see just for the city as well.
Give him one more year. I agree. Give him
Yeah.
one more year. You're absolutely right. I just give him one more year. Let's just see how, like you said, the season plays out. If they start off slow, they just bomb out next year. I think that's it. But I think give him one more year to play this out, get his roster going. He has become a better X's and O coach. He really has. Like he's improved his game plan call. I remember on our podcast years ago, like we questioned Penny Hardaway. Is he a good? He's a good recruiter, but is he a good X's and O coach? And he has really improved his X's and O's, his style of coaching. He's really improved all that. So,
I mean, look at what David Jones was doing last year at St. John's compared to what he's
yeah,
doing now.
I didn't know who David Jones was until now. Like I'm like, oh, David Jones got game. Like,
Yeah, I think he had like an SC top 10 last year that I
mhm.
saw, and that was the first I heard about him. And David Jones is now, I mean, you could easily make a case he's the best player in college basketball. Like,
At least in the American Conference, he is.
yeah, he's the best player in the American, definitely. But I mean, he's proven that he's an All American.
Yeah.
I don't think David's going to stay. I think Dave is going to. This is the draft that you would go in. Next year's draft, the experts are saying it's going to be a little bit more top heavy than it is this year. This year, it's a complete toss up. Who knows about this draft?
And,
So,
we can get to that a little bit later. But let me bookmark this. Let's go to 901 FC.
okay.
They won their first game Saturday, 3-1. Are you excited about this year? They came off of a very high emotional season last year. What can they do this year at 901 FC?
So, I wish they won 3-1. I won 2-1.
2-1. I'm sorry, 3-1. I thought it was 3.
No, you're good. They've done a lot of work this offseason. This has been the busiest offseason in the history of the club outside of their first season. This is Stephen Glass, the manager of 901 FC, the head coach of 901 FC's second year there.
Mm-hmm.
And he is definitely, if you look at his resume, one of the most accomplished coaches in the league. He knows what he's doing. He came from Aberdeen in the first division of Scotland, was a Scottish superstar as a player, playing in Scotland and then in the Premier League. This is the year where, in you see it across sports, you really see it in soccer a lot. When you have a manager that gets at least one season under his belt, to implement his system, that second year is usually very successful. So with that paired with all of these players who they've gotten in the offseason, you look at Nico, who's he's the third all-time leader. He scored the third most goals ever in all the USL, Nico Brett. Knight Pickering, who scored an absolutely beautiful goal, the game winner in the first half against Las Vegas this Saturday. 20 years old, came up through the academy. Really, really, really good player. And that seems like who they're going to run with as their striker. They brought in some really good players defensively as well. And they brought in a MLS veteran, USL veteran in goal as well. So I think it could be, it's too early to tell. It's kind of a similar thing with how this Memphis team has run this season, the Memphis Tigers, bringing in a bunch of new guys who don't know how it's going to go. The starting lineup this year is completely different from last year. So, I see really good things from 901 FC.
Okay. Do you know how much the tickets are? So people can, if they're interested in going, are they, decent prices,
They're not bad. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Because like I said, like they had such a good year last year, and it was like, they made it the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they lost in the first round.
First round. Okay.
You can get tickets for under $20 for games.
It's good deals. You know how Memphis, if they're good and the price and the tickets are in a good range for them, they'll definitely come out and support them. Showboats too, but they gotta win the Showboats. But
there's one 901 FC player that's just worth the price of admission, and we've only seen him one game. His name is Zachary Duncan. He's from Australia. He's kind of a box midfielder. He was playing in Denmark for the last few years. He played in Australia last year because he went on loan back to Australia. He should be one of the best players in all of USL. He's definitely like top 5 in talent as far as talent is concerned in the USL. He looked really, really good against Las Vegas on Saturday. Kind of a creative playmaker midfielder, but he can also do a job getting back on defense as well. Adding guys like that, we don't know the future of 901 FC, which is kind of scary. With all the stadium stuff going on, they can't keep playing in AutoZone Park or their team's going to get taken away from the city of Memphis. So you add in, we don't know if a stadium is going to be built, a soccer specific stadium. So let's just enjoy this season. I think that they can go on a run. This is talent wise. I would say this is the most talented 901 FC team ever.
Okay. Their next home game, is it Sacramento Republic?
No, they play Indy 11 this Saturday.
That's on the road, right?
No, Indy 11's at home, and then they'll play on the road against Sacramento.
Okay, it's on the road. Okay, so Indy 11 here, March 16th, at Sacramento, March 30th,
Yeah,
and here against Orange County, April 6th.
right.
So, do you have any blogs about the 901 FC on ABC 24 or?
So we're actually working on a soccer specific, Memphis soccer specific podcast that I'm heading up at ABC 24. It hasn't been finalized yet, but I'm shooting a pilot next week. So
Okay.
you can see more coming out. Yeah, but I would say if you're interested in 901 FC, definitely check out our website. ABC 24 does the most 901 FC coverage out of all the stations.
Yeah,
Uh, no
that's
shots to be taken at Channel 3, Greg. They do
that's
a great
that's a
job.
fact. No, you're right. You're right. We
Uh,
just do the highlights and score. You're right though. But you guys are in depth. And if you want to send out a link to your podcast about 901 FC, I'll put it in the subscription down below my podcast, and
oh, great.
people can subscribe to it and listen to it and all that. Look at it. So
So the podcast is going to be on 901 FC. It's going to be on Memphis men's and women's soccer, and then high school soccer. So
mhm.
we want to be the place that people go to when they think about Memphis soccer. So, and I'm a huge soccer fan. You know that, Greg.
Oh yeah,
So I did
it's in your blood. Yeah.
yeah, and I did play-by-play in college for Memphis men's and women's teams, 2 seasons.
Hmm.
Uh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I got my Italy jersey on right now.
Shout
Can't-
out. Shout out.
Shout out to the
I need to get a Messi. I need to get a mess. I'm not Messi. Yeah, Messi. I need to get him a
yeah,
jersey.
Lionel Messi. Yeah, with that pink Miami jersey.
He's a walking bucket. Every time I always bet him to get a goal, he always do. He always does it for me. So shout out to Messi, man. Like,
He's an absolute beast.
um, quickly though, let's talk about the Grizzlies. I know this is just one of those years. It's just one of those years. I mean, I can't remember a year like this probably since like 2008, 2009. Like it's injury riddled. It's the injury riddled Grizzlies. They're currently playing the worst team in the NBA right now, the Wizards. They got the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow. You were mentioning the draft and how not so, we don't know what this draft is going to be like. What's the
Mhm.
Who's the one guy you think the Grizzlies should go after? Is it Zach Eden from Purdue, or is it like an overseas guy? Or what do you think the move is?
Honestly, what I think the move is to trade that pick. Trade it, try to get someone, try to get, probably like a 20 to 30 million a year guy. Maybe you have to add in a little bit more, but keep the core and trade for a wing. Um, Based on what I've seen this season, I love Santi Aldama, but make it so either both Gigi Jackson and Santi Aldama have to fight for minutes for that number 4 position or that number 3.
Or Vince
Uh,
Williams, or add Vince Williams to it too if you want.
Yeah, I don't. Vince won't start next year, but he's going to be a huge part coming off the bench. I mean, he could start, but see, you've got if Marcus Smart stays, which there's talk that he isn't going to stay. If he stays, you have
Mm.
him, Jaren, Desmond Bain, and then you got to just figure out that last position. So
Mm.
if you can go out there and get somebody, use that pick because I don't know where the draft boards are changing so often.
What about
So
Dawson Connect from UT? You think that he'll be a good fit for Grizzlies?
I mean, he's definitely a baller.
Yeah.
He'll have some success, but I don't. He's been pretty consistent this season. He's a guy who, I missed Tennessee 30-1 to win the national championship. I almost bet on it
Mm.
and decided not to bet on it. Like, because you can't get Tennessee 30-1 right now. Last time I checked, he's the type of guy that could, if you have him on your team, you can go on a run in March Madness. So, you bring him in, you're still gambling. Whereas,
Yeah.
when we talked to Kleiman, when X got traded, Xavier Tillman got traded, and Roddy got traded, he did a press conference.
Mhm.
And when we asked him about what his plans are for the future with the draft, he said, we don't know who we want to draft yet. We don't know if we want to use that pick to trade for, so Trading that pick is definitely on their mind. He's a very, very smart GM. So I think, honestly, they'll probably trade it. And Memphis fans will probably get upset about that because it's always nice to get a flashy draft pick.
Yeah, like Zach Eaton, like a center. I feel like they need to get a center. I feel like if Zach Eaton's available, trade up to get him. Like, I mean, him and Jaren Jackson. I know they're trying to hang on to what's my guy, Brandon Clark. They just, like I said, they got rid of Steven Adams. Like, I just think Zach Eaton, and Jaren Jackson will cause problems. It will be a nice, solid fit. Get Brandon Clark off the bench. I just feel like all these injuries, like, should they look for a backup plan just in case they're still not ready? The injured players the Grizzlies have, or it's just 1 year, just injuries. It just happens. Like, how concerned are you about the health of the Grizzlies for next year?
Moving forward, yeah, if you look at it, it's Desmond Bane with his ankle. Jaren Jackson is always having issues because his usage rate is so high. He's a very physical player. The shoulder surgery is kind of tricky because as a point guard, I don't know of a precedent of anyone that's torn their labrum and come back from that. I'm sure it's happened. You see it in football and in baseball all the time, and they come back. It's not like a quarterback tearing their labrum, but it's similar to that. So yeah, I think that from what they've said, they want Ja to start the season, and he's on track to do that. Desmond, I'm not that concerned about. If they were making a playoff push, Desmond would probably be back. Marcus Smart is just his finger. Like, he has a weird finger thing. I think it's the ring finger. So yeah, I would say slightly more than teams just normally do. Then every Laker fan and Laker player has the same feeling when Anthony Davis goes up in traffic to dunk or a layup. Y'all all just same with the KD fan, same with me as a Steph Curry fan. You never know. So
the usage rate, LeBron too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. LeBron always seems to be somehow got a cut on him, but they can never find out if he actually should come off the court for the blood, and then the game stops.
I know I get you started with that. I know I
get you started really easily. Greg and I have had many LeBron debates.
We've had them. You gotta come back, Caleb. And talk when the playoffs, when the NBA playoffs start, and get a little preview of what can we expect in the playoff time. It's going to be exciting.
I would love to. Maybe we'll have to do a special if Memphis makes the tournament. Maybe we'll have to do a special something.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Yeah, because I can. Same time next week. Yeah, give us a preview because we're gonna know brackets. We're gonna know who's playing who. Of course, me and Darren, we're gonna break all that down too. But your insight on the Memphis Tigers, maybe UT Vols if you like. Mississippi State. One of those teams are gonna make it. We just don't know exactly. Well, UT's gonna make it for sure, but Mississippi State bubble team, they can make it. Although Ole Miss, the way they lost to A&M, that was.
Get them out of here. Get Ole Miss out of here. Get Ole Miss out of here.
They only got 11 losses. Well, 11 now. So, like,
the Memphis game made me so upset. They beat us in Oxford.
I know.
That was the sign. That was the first sign. This team might not be as good as we thought. But yeah, we'll have to do something if Memphis makes the tournament, and then definitely in the playoffs. I'm always down to come on.
Oh man, appreciate it anytime. But you guys, this will conclude a special episode here on Throw It Down, Big Fella, with my best friend Caleb. You can always check him out on ABC 24, like I said, on the weekends. He's a sports anchor. Also, check out his stuff at 901 FC. All his podcasts he has and all the specials he has. Check that out as well. On that note, we will conclude this episode and check you guys out later. Until then, peace out.
Throw it down, big man.